Why the world could be in danger because of the Taliban. The Taliban have completed their lightning advance across Afghanistan by assuming control of its capital, all but ensuring a national takeover. Helicopters evacuating Americans from Kabul as the Taliban close were in a situation similar to the fall of Saigon in 1975 after the US withdrawal. Afghan troops trained in the US appear to have collapsed in the face of Taliban insurgency. Names and places that were familiar to the American people when their country was involved for a long time there, including Kunduz and Kandahar, feel like dominoes as Taliban swept across the capital. The Taliban have gained a reputation for being brutal and enforcing their harsh interpretation of Islamic law in the 5 years they were in power until they were overthrown by US-led forces in 2001, with President Ashraf Ghani fleeing the country and the United States in a hurry to evacuate its personnel from Kabul as Afghan leaders work to establish a caretaker government. The reality is this. After 2 decades and an expenditure of nearly $2 trillion, Washington's nation-building efforts have failed. That could have far-reaching effects not only in Afghanistan, but also on global politics and international foreign policy. In today's video, we will discuss why the Taliban takeover poses a serious threat to the world. Before we begin, we would like to ask you to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get an instant notifications for our future videos. Now, let's begin. In a gesture of strategic thinking, the Taliban expressed their determination to undertake a peaceful transfer of power in Afghanistan. This is being met with a sigh of relief by the international community, but the guards should not go down. This may well be a time-consuming tactic by the Taliban to help them consolidate their gains from a quick sweep to the provincial capitals. It is a strategy to avoid global condemnation, sidestep an emergency resolution at the UN Security Council, and ensures that the distribution of aid continues so that the group is not blamed for a humanitarian crisis. Going forward, the United States and its allies must adjust their policies to protect national security interests under Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, which could be in more danger than in the 1990s, and in particular on September 11, 2001. A Taliban-led Afghanistan that provides tech-savvy global terrorist safe havens for recruiting new followers is a different level of a security threat. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the United States invades Afghanistan for one purpose: not to build a new nation in its image, but to take down Al-Qaeda and prevent the country from being used as a base for terrorism. That task was accomplished, but it was followed by a major mission creep. In future interventions, US-led coalition should focus on achieving high-priority, pragmatic objectives and not allow for the expansion of those goals under the "while we are here" principle. The defeat of the Taliban is likely to bring about a major change in the South Asian world and could test India in particular due to the country's tense historical tensions and border disputes with Pakistan and China, both of which are expected to play a key role in Afghanistan's future. Pakistan shares a porous border with Afghanistan and has long been an active player in the affairs of its northern neighbor. China is now showing interest in playing a major role in Afghanistan. A meeting between Foreign Minister Wang Yi and senior Taliban leaders last month shows that Beijing no longer wants to be a quiet player. This potential geopolitical realignment could turn the situation upside down. The world is likely to see Pakistan, Russia, Iran, and China come together to play their part in the next round of the Great Game. Here is how this recent development could have major global implications. The Taliban regime could be a safe haven for extremists. The casus belli of US-led Afghanistan invasion after the terrorist attack of September 11, 2001 was the Taliban's refusal to hand over Osama bin Laden, considered by Washington to be an international fugitive. While in recent months, several experts weighed in, suggesting that such concerns about terrorism have passed. There is no guarantee that Afghanistan will no longer be a safe haven for terrorists, either those intent on doing evil in the US or in other foreign countries. In an interview last week, the former US Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta gave this clear statement: "The Taliban are terrorists, and they will support the terrorists. If they are in control of Afghanistan, there is no question in mind that they will provide a safe haven for Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and terrorism in general, he said. And that means frankly a threat to national security in the United States. Ghulam Iqzai, Afghanistan's representative to the United Nations, issued a similar warning last week, saying that in deliberate acts of barbarism, the Taliban are aided by transnational terrorist networks, and Afghanistan ruled by the Taliban may destabilize Pakistan. Pakistan's Inter-Service Intelligence, or ISI, its equivalent to the CIA, is believed to have helped raise the Taliban ahead of the religious movement's takeover of Afghanistan in 1996. The Pakistani military in particular has long regarded an intellectually like-minded Afghanistan as a necessary protection against its traditional rival, India. But Pakistan's long border of purahs with Afghanistan has brought as much trouble as brotherhood. For years, Pakistan has placed tens of thousands of Afghan refugees in border camps like Jalozai, placing financial and political strain on a succession of shaky governments in Islamabad. Afghan Taliban have helped inspire the deadly Tehrik-Taliban Pakistan, popularly known as the Pakistani Taliban. Leaders of both parties are reportedly at odds. However, if there is a Taliban government in Afghanistan, that will definitely strengthen the Pakistani Taliban. Islamic extremism has already divided Pakistan's sectarian society, and the rise of neighboring Afghan Islamists will strengthen the resolve of the Pakistani Taliban and like-minded groups. Hussein Haqqani, Pakistan's former ambassador to the US, said Pakistan's dangerous game of supporting the Taliban while trying to maintain good relations with Washington was never going to prove sustainability in the long term. Pakistan has been able to kick the can down the road for a long time. However, it will soon reach the end of the road, he wrote. A nuclear power being threatened by a violent insurgency could have major repercussion for the security situation in the region and the world at large. China can find a foothold in the region. While the Taliban's deadly tactics in Afghanistan seem to not have changed much since the 1990s, in recent weeks, their leaders have been in full court press to find allies and influence abroad, and the efforts are bearing fruit. The last time the Taliban took power, they turned Afghanistan into a pariah state, isolated from the rest of the world except for Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, the only governments willing to engage with them. But in recent weeks, senior Taliban leaders have been on global tour, visiting Iran, Russia, and China. China has reportedly promised significant investment in energy and infrastructure projects, including the construction of a road network in Afghanistan, and is eyeing Afghanistan's untapped rare earth mineral reserves. Beijing was reportedly preparing to formally recognize the Taliban even before the group took over the country. Laurel Miller, director of the Asian program at the International Crisis Group, tells the NPR that the Taliban are campaigning for the acceptance in the eyes of the regional and perhaps Persian Gulf states. Earlier this week, U.S. Ambassador Zalmay Khalilzad said the U.S. it will not accept the invading Taliban government by force. For the Taliban at the time, engaging with China is a way to undermine the ability of the US or others to use the threat of turning them into a pariah state again and have any other form of power over them. The Taliban see China as an international source of credibility, which could be an economic supporter and powerful ally along with Pakistan, a Chinese partner that has helped the group. Meanwhile, the Taliban are likely to push China and Russia together as the two countries seek fence against volatility in Afghanistan. Both countries are concerned about the possible explosion of Islamist extremism into their territories. Despite the Cold War hostility, Beijing and Moscow last week reportedly sent 10,000 troops as well as planes and artillery pieces to China's Ningxia Hui Autonomous Region as part of a joint exercise. Although the operation was carried out far from Afghanistan, it demonstrated the determination of Russia and China to fight terrorism and to work together to outwit America in one of the key strategic regions in the world. This cooperation will go on to play a key role in shaping the new world order, with China replacing America as the world's premier superpower. This brings our video to an end. We hope you liked it. If so, please share the video and subscribe to our channel. We will see you in the next video.